Alright everybody, so YouTube will not allow me to keep this video on the platform. It's been 4 times that they have blocked, copy struck, removed this video because it includes a clip from Fox where James Comey explicitly perjures himself or admits to clear perjury, and it cuts back and forth between his statements given to the Senate, his statements given on the Judiciary Committee, and then it gives all of his different statements to Wallace at Fox and a couple of other people. Now, I have put this video online 4 different times. It's been taken down because YouTube says that Fox copyright struck it. I have other content up from Fox that has not been taken down. So my suspicion is that YouTube does not want you to see. They want no one to see this because it's super obvious. He's explained it, and I put this out a couple months ago and have been trying every couple weeks to put it back up in a new way. So this is completely cut, edited, chopped, screwed, you name it. But now I'm reacting to my own video so that you can watch it. Here you go.
Here are you and the Inspector General, Michael Horowitz, answering the same question.
Do you think this is vindication?
It is. I mean, the FBI's had to wait 2 years while the president and his followers lied about the institution. Finally, the truth gets told.
Does your report vindicate Mr. Comey?
It doesn't vindicate anyone at the FBI who touched this, including the leadership.
That was true.
The IG says you should feel no vindication.
Well, maybe it turns upon how we understand the word. What I mean is that the FBI was accused of treason, of illegal spying, of...
The FBI wasn't accused. James Comey was the leader of the FBI, and he was accused. So it wasn't that the FBI was accused of all the wrongdoing. James Comey and his team were.
Tapping Mr. Trump's wires illegally, of opening an investigation without justification, of being a criminal conspiracy to defeat and then unseat a president.
That's what it was. He just laid it out, exactly what he did.
All of that was nonsense. I think it's really important that the Inspector General looked at that.
So when he says all of that is nonsense, and I thought it was really important that the Inspector General looked at that, what he was hoping was that the Inspector General would come out and say that so that he would have some CYA, some cover your ass.
And that the American people, your viewers and all viewers, understand that's true.
The viewers need to understand it as being true. That's really what he's saying. Not that they need to know that's what happened, right? They need to know the truth. None of that. They need to see that as being the way it's happened.
But he also found things that we were never accused of, which is real sloppiness, and that's concerning.
We were never accused of doing something wrong on accident. And that's how he said he might have seen it. It could have been an accident, and that's not what they said.
As I've said all along, has to be focused on. If I were director, I'd be very concerned about it and diving into it.
Well, sloppiness may be a euphemism for what it is he found. One of his big concerns is the way the FBI handled the FISA applications and the warrants that allowed you to surveil Carter Page, who was a former foreign policy advisor to the Trump campaign. Again, here is what you said about the FISA process and what the Inspector General Horowitz said this week. Take a look.
I have total confidence that the FISA process was followed and that the entire case was handled in a thoughtful, responsible way by DOJ and the FBI.
We identified significant inaccuracies and omissions in each of the 4 applications. 7 in the first application and a total of 17 by the final renewal application.
17 significant errors in the FISA process, and you say that it was handled in a
So 17 errors in FISA, that doesn't include the other errors and omissions and coincidental problems, totaling up to 22 different clerical mistakes made within the FBI outside of FISA, with attorneys and whether people were or weren't assets of different agencies. I mean, this is all miserable.
Full and appropriate way.
Yeah, he's right. I was wrong. I was
He's right. I was wrong. Yeah, the Horowitz just said everyone that touched this was wrong. This doesn't vindicate anybody. It could have been a mistake, but mistakes were made all over, and they all go one way. So you can say they were mistakes, but this is not, the investigation of this isn't over. And Comey says, well, he's right. I'm wrong.
Confident in the procedures that the FBI and Justice had built over 20 years. I thought they were robust enough.
The FBI is way older than 20 years. I know what he's saying. He's been around and he knows. So he thought that he had stability over 20 years. Who has Comey worked for and who has had power for about 20 years?
It's incredibly hard to get a FISA. I was overconfident in those because he's right. There was real sloppiness. 17 things that either should have been in the applications or at least discussed and characterized differently. It was not acceptable. And so he's right. I was wrong.
But you make it sound like you're a bystander, an eyewitness. You were
He's
the director
leader
of the FBI while a lot of this was going on, sir.
Not
Sure.
a bystander,
I'm
he's the
responsible
leader.
for that. That's why I'm telling you I was wrong. I was overconfident as director in our procedures.
He's the leader
and
of the
it's important
Cabal.
that a leader be accountable and transparent. If I were still director, I'd be saying exactly the same thing that Chris Wray is saying, which is...
So the leader needs to be crystal clear, accountable, transparent, and that's the guy on the ball. If it's not James Comey, who does he need to throw the ball to? Who's he going to throw under the bus? If James Comey's not the leader of the coup cabal, who is? Who gave him the orders?
We are going to get to the bottom of this because the most important question is it systemic? Are there problems in other cases?
One of the central
like
issues is the role that the Steele dossier played, which was
Chris
research
Wallace.
paid for by the Democrats. What role it played in getting the FISA warrants to surveil Page. Again, here's your version, and again, here's the Inspector General.
My recollection was it was part of a broader mosaic of facts that were laid before the FISA judge to obtain a FISA warrant.
And we concluded that the Steele reporting played a central and essential role in the decision to seek a FISA order.
Horowitz says it wasn't part, as you told Brett Baer, it wasn't part of a broader mosaic. He said it played an essential role in establishing probable cause. In fact, he says
we've got
if
a
it hadn't been for the Steele
100
dossier,
and that
the
this
FBI
piece
probably
of it
wouldn't have even
was just
submitted a FISA application that had been reviewed in April of 2016, or August rather of 2016. They decided not to do it. They get the Steele dossier, they do it. It wasn't part of a broader mosaic. That's what you said, sir.
I'm not sure he and I are saying different things. What his report says is that the FBI thought it was a close call until they got the Steele report, put that additional information in, and that tipped it over to be probable cause. It's a long FISA application includes Steele material and lots of other material. I don't think we're saying different things.
Well,
he's retarded.
I think you are, sir, because he's saying, you're saying it's part of a broader mosaic, it's just one element. He's saying it was the tipping point. It's what brought it over. That doesn't make it part of a broader mosaic. It makes it the centerpiece of the whole FISA application and the ability to surveil Carter Page.
Yeah, I don't understand him to be saying that. And I could be wrong about that.
You are wrong.
Well, I understand. I got his quote here. He says, we concluded the Steele reporting played a central and essential role in the decision to seek a FISA warrant, that it pushed the FISA proposal over the line in terms of establishing probable cause.
So again, if you're going to look over a fence, you can't see over it. You put something down, now you can.
I agree with his characterization. I'm just confused. I don't see the disconnect between the two of us, and I'm sorry that I'm missing.
Now where you are.
Well,
that illegal
you don't see
FISA,
the difference between it's part of a broader mosaic and it was
and having a little piece of over Carter
in
Page
establishing
saying,
probable
he either is a CIA agent or he isn't.
A bunch of different facts that were assembled to apply to the court. It was the one that convinced the lawyers that they had enough now with that added to the pile to go forward.
I guess the question is, it seemed that you were minimizing the role of the Steele dossier, and he's saying it's a lot more important than you let on.
Okay, if I was, then I'm sorry that I did that, but I meant...
Sorry that I did that. Well, if I did mislead the entire country for 3 years, then I'm sorry that I did that. This guy's a joke. I'm going to skip forward a little bit because there's a lot of this video, but please, I mean, this is, apparently Fox owns this and they have it up, so you can go and see the Chris Wallace interview with him. But it gets absolutely stupid here. He misquotes himself a few different times and then says, well, I never said that in the Senate. I never actually said that we didn't know anything about Barack Obama wiretapping Donald Trump. I said that we didn't have any evidence to suggest Barack Obama wanted to wiretap Donald Trump. But we obviously were wiretapping him, and it was his administration, and he did call it, and we do know this. So, well, all we're looking for is for Jim Comey to actually say Obama called the shot. He has yet to say that anywhere, and I've been looking in all of the different reports and interviews he's done, but he has been very clear to say he ordered a lot of these things to happen. So he can't now say what he was about to say, which is, I was super removed from this. I'm like 7 layers above this thing. I'm like the very top little Parmesan cheese layer on a 7-layer salad.
Did you know that the FBI had talked to the Russian contact and he said what Steele said he had told him was not true? Did you know this? You're the FBI director.
First, again, the report will speak for itself. I don't believe the FBI concluded that Steele's reporting was bunk after talking to a subsource.
So he didn't read
I didn't.
It.
As the director, you're not kept informed on the details of an investigation. So no, in general, I didn't know what they'd learned from the subsource. I didn't know the particulars of the investigation.
But this isn't.
If he didn't know that it was a lie then, that means he has to claim two things now. One of two things. Either he just learned that it was a fake, or, because again, he's claiming he didn't know before, that means he either just learned it's a fake or he still doesn't believe it's a fake, which he just did. He just told you he doesn't believe it's fake even now. That's the worst way to cover up. Cover up saying, hey, I was wrong. I believed these people and I shouldn't have. And now I know I'm wrong. But he's still saying, no, I just don't see it that way. I don't think that that's how they're going to see this. But maybe I'm wrong. You are wrong, Jim.
Some investigation, sir. This is an investigation of the campaign of the man who is the president of the United States. You've just been through a firestorm investigating Hillary Clinton. I would think if I were in your position, I would have been on that, like a junkyard dog. I would have wanted to know everything they were doing in investigating the Trump campaign.
Yeah, that's not the way it works, though. As a director sitting on top of an organization of 38,000 people, you can't run an investigation that's 7 layers below you. You have.
Didn't he come out and give like an impromptu press conference saying Hillary was innocent before they'd ever investigated her? Who called Jim Comey and said, you get your ass out in front of a camera and you say I'm innocent, or I'm sorry, you say Hillary's innocent right now. Otherwise, I might not win this election, Jim. You get your ass in there or I'm going to be screwed. So he went out and did that. But on this one, he's 7 layers above it. I mean, unbelievable.
To leave it to the career professionals to do, to the special agents who do this for their lives. And if a director tries to run an investigation, it'll get mucked up in all different kinds of ways, given his or her responsibilities and the impossibility of reaching the work that's being done at the lower level.
And then there is, I've left for last, the worst misconduct. In August of 2016, just 2 weeks
this is theater
into the investigation, the CIA
even the Republicans
tells the
still watch
FBI that it actually has a relationship.
You're trying to keep those people
with Carter
believing the
Page.
lie.
That when he has these meetings
Just
with the Russians,
Jim
he actually goes back and he tells the CIA
sad.
about
He's wearing
it.
his brown
But
jacket.
you never tell
He's
the
not wearing the
report
pinstripes
that.
and the
And in
nice
fact,
brown jacket.
in 2017,
I've been wrong.
an FBI lawyer doctors a document. The CIA said, "Oh, Carter Page, he's a source."
Trying to continue to bring
and he puts in the application, he's not a source.
Keep those sheep.
I got to take issue with one of the. I'll answer the question, but one of the predications of your question: the Inspector General did not find misconduct by any FBI people. He found mistakes and negligence and oversight.
No, that's not true. In the case of Kevin Kleinsmith, he has referred it for a criminal investigation.
Right, but that's not been resolved. This business with the lawyer changing some email to a partner on the team.
I mean, if it's not resolved, does it mean it's legal?
No, it's very important. It's very important.
And actually, Jim Comey's thought process there makes a lot of sense. If it's not resolved yet, I don't have to call it illegal. Well, that makes sense. He came out and said Hillary did nothing illegal and no one would charge her for it because they had yet to investigate it. Makes total sense. This is now making a ton of sense.
Not a source to not a source is a big deal.
Remember how we got here. The FBI was accused of criminal misconduct. Remember, I was going to jail, and lots of other people were going to jail. People on this network said it over and over and over again. The Inspector General did not find misconduct by FBI personnel, did not find political bias, did not find illegal conduct. Inspector General found significant mistakes, and that is not something to sneeze at. That's really important. But the American people, especially your viewers, need to realize they were given false information about the FBI.
By the FBI. That's what the people really need to know. And this is interesting. He's saying your viewers need to understand. Not the truth. They don't need to know the facts. They don't need to know what happened. They need to understand that whatever they were told about me going to jail, that's not true. I'm not going to jail. That's what he's saying. He's retarded. Who believes this guy?
It's honest. It is not political. It is flawed.
Would you agree that
it is honest, it is not political, it was flawed? Run it back and just do it in reverse and see if what he's saying is more accurate, right? Because if you think you're being lied to, just take what they're saying, put it in reverse, and see if it makes more sense. It was dishonest, it is political, and it wasn't flawed. This was what they meant to do. They didn't mean to get caught.
The FISA court was also given false information by the FBI?
I think that's fair. The FBI should have included, or at least pushed to the lawyers so they could make a decision, information that you just said, things like that.
Information that things you just said, like that. What, Jim? Repeat it. Any information that exonerates Flynn or that exculpates the campaign from having any guilt cast upon it. Any information that Andrew, I think it's Kleinsmith from MSU, the guy that's Kevin Kleinsmith, excuse me, the attorney who says, well, I got this email. It says that Carter Page is a CIA informant, so we can verify he is certainly not with Russia. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to change that email and I'm going to forward it on to the FISA court so that they're convinced he could be with Russia because he's not a CIA guy when we knew he was. This is deliberate from the FBI. And what does the director say? The quarterback of it all says, oh, well, we could have been more forthcoming. We should have pushed the lawyers maybe. This is him doing some CYA because he's going to hang.
Another agency had not a source relationship, but some kind of contact relationship.
Okay. I want to get to three last questions. Okay. And one of them has to do with how serious what this is. You've talked a lot about mistakes or sloppiness. Horowitz concludes three separate teams made significant errors in four separate FISA applications
right, Jim Comey?
on one of the FBI's most significant cases. I mean, the investigation of President Trump and his campaign.
He was Trump. I have to keep correcting you. President Trump was not being investigated. His campaign was not being investigated. 4 Americans, 2 of whom were no longer associated with the campaign.
We now know that's not true. We now know that that's not true. So he's lying on national television, and this is not that long ago.
Campaign were being investigated.
Okay. He was asked how he explains it. Horowitz, here he is.
It's unclear what the motivations were. On the one hand, gross incompetence, negligence. On the other hand, intentionality.
Gross negligence, or they intended to do it. They intended to lie to the FISA court. You were in charge during a lot of this, sir. And in fact, you signed the FISA applications.
Look, I'm just bouncing around.
Sure, I think I signed at least 2 or 3 of them.
Sure.
He doesn't.
Yeah, you signed FISA applications, Jim. Sure, I think I signed 2 or 3 of them. No, Jim, you would know exactly how many you signed. And you don't have to pretend like, oh, this was so beneath you, you didn't even know anything was going on. And at the same time, know exactly every detail of every moment of every day within this thing.
Conclude that there was intentional misconduct by these career special agents.
He can defend it because he knows every detail. But I wasn't all that close to it, just in case it was bad.
Says it's one of 2 things and he can't decide: gross negligence or it was intentional misconduct.
Well,
that's what he said.
I've read his report. He says we are not concluding that there was intentional misconduct by FBI.
Did you hear what he just said here?
He didn't say that, Jim. He said, I am concluding that there's one of 2 options: either negligible mistakes or intentionality. Negligibility, intentionality. You get one. And he's saying, well, he didn't say that.
I don't know the context of that. I've read.
He was asked specifically, how do you explain it? And he said gross negligence or intentionality.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry. He doesn't find intentionality, but that doesn't make it.
I'm Jim Comey. I'm going to change the words of the Inspector General. He says, I find either negligible actions or illegal intentional actions. You pick one. And he goes, I'm sorry. Well, he didn't find that. Look, he just said this.
Make it any less important. As director, you are responsible.
Intentionality.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry. He doesn't find intentionality, but that.
I'm sorry. He doesn't.
It's one of 2 things and he can't decide: gross negligence or it was intentional misconduct. Well, that's what he said.
I've read his report. He says we are not concluding that there was intentional misconduct by FBI.
Did you hear what he just said here?
I did. I don't know the context of that.
He was asked specifically, how do you explain it? And he said gross negligence or intentionality.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry. He doesn't find intentionality, but that doesn't make it any less important. As director, you are responsible for this. I was responsible for this, and if I were still there, I'd be doing what Chris Wray is doing, is figuring out, so how did this happen, and is it systemic? Because
If I were still there, I'd be trying to figure out how did this happen and is it systemic? If I was still there, I'd be covering it up. That's James Comey.
That's the scariest thought.
If you were still there and all of this came out and it turned out it happened on your watch,
we'd hang him in the street, and we still want to.
Would you resign?
No, I don't think so. There were mistakes I consider more.
Look at that little shrug off. Like, no, I don't think so. I mean, there were mistakes. Like, I'll be better about it next time.
Consequential than this during my tenure, and the important thing is to be transparent about it and then look to fix it and explain to the American people how you fix it.
A couple of final questions. As you know, Attorney General Barr has been harshly critical of how the FBI conducted this entire operation. Here's how he reacted to the IG's findings of whatever you want to call it in the handling of the FISA applications.
These irregularities, these misstatements, these omissions were not satisfactorily explained. And I think that leaves open the possibility to infer bad faith.
Given the repeated errors, some would say abuses of the FISA process, does Attorney General Barr have a point?
No. He does not have a...
That's the fastest no. That's the fastest answer that he gave in this entire interview. If William Barr, the Attorney General, says there are enough mistakes here that all point one way that make you think logically, this is at least weird. If lightning strikes 22 times in the same place, can we at least investigate or wonder why? Can we question why? James, no. Was there a problem, James, with any? No. This is such an obvious liar, and he's not a good one. I mean, if you're a really good liar, get in front of the camera and do all the covering you want. Hillary's a great liar. She's in front of the camera once a month, maybe. James Comey did like once a day press tours ever since he left office, pushing a book because he was hoping, like, get the people on my side. That way they can never prosecute me. Dude, that is not going to help you. You are giving everyone enough rope to hang you multiple times over.
Factual basis as the Attorney General of the United States to be speculating that agents acted in bad faith. The facts just aren't there. Full stop. That doesn't make it any less consequential, any less important, but that's an irresponsible statement.
Finally, here's President Trump, and there's how he reacted to the IG report on the FBI investigation.
They've destroyed the lives of people that were great people, that are still great people. Their lives have been destroyed by scum, okay, by scum.
I'd like your response to that, and I'd like you specifically, because you said the other day, where does former FBI lawyer Lisa Page go to get her reputation back? Where does Carter Page go?
She's going to hell.
The target of these FISA warrants and surveillance. Where does he go to get his reputation back?
It's a great question. Carter Page was treated unfairly, most significantly by his name being made public. He's a United States citizen, and it never should have been made public, and that's an outrage. But that statement is just a continuation of the lies about the FBI. The FBI is an honest, apolitical organization. Remember the treason.
Okay. Again, when you feel like someone's lying to you, just say what they're saying and run it back in the opposite and see if it makes more sense in the affirmative. He just said the FBI is an apolitical organization. There was more to it. What exactly did he say?
Is just a continuation of the lies about the FBI. The FBI is an honest, apolitical organization.
Okay, so they're a dishonest political organization, and they were run by Democrats for like 30 years, who were really owned and operated by the Rothschilds and Soros.
Remember the treason, remember the spying, remember all of us going to jail. That was false information that your viewers and millions of others were.
No, that's real information, and it's coming. It's coming for you. I don't know where you are, Jim. I don't know where your red roses are being painted, but you are fucked.
Given my own mother-in-law was worried I was going to jail. I kept telling her, look, it's all made up. It's all made up. Don't worry about it. But I couldn't say that publicly for 2 years. Well, now I'm saying it on behalf of the FBI. It was all made up. And I hope people will stare at that and learn about what the FBI is like.
I hope people will stare at that. I want to tell them it's all made up, and I just hope they stare at it long enough. Jim, we don't need to stare at this to know. I can look at you for 5 seconds right now. 1 second, half a second, no seconds. I know you're a liar.
And flawed, but deeply committed to trying to do the right thing.
Is that an accurate statement?
I don't believe it is.
First thing I want to ask you, it is a crime when you testify before Congress to lie. That is perjury. You can go to prison for it. Raise your hand if you believe James Comey lied at all. 4 of you believe he lied. Yep. You raised your hand. Do you think Mr. Comey should go to jail?
I think that my impression of Comey at the beginning of this was that he was kind of a LA Ness kind of guy, the way he went out there, Martha Stewart. But especially with this testimony today, he's more like an Ian Fleming, where he wants to be the next novelist. A lot of things that he came up with seemed like he's more inclined to fiction.